How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. Solana is at a very key level right now, and it could be getting ready for another massive push higher. I want to talk about that. Also talk about how Solana is actually hitting all-time highs in price right now. I don't think a lot of people look at this, but it's something that we have to pay attention to. I'll explain it all. There's no clickbaitiness about that. It's actually true. Now, I also want to show you a clip from another YouTuber that I follow, Tyler Hill, where he talks about a price prediction, showing it in the charts how high Solana could actually go. And it's huge. I also want to talk about why it's falling down a bit right now. If you don't mind, hit subscribe, turn on that bell notification underneath the video so you can see future videos just like this one as soon as I publish them. Also, there's a link to Margex underneath the video where you can go long or short Solana, and you can use Solana or other types of collateral. I may have just opened a trade long on Solana right there. And I'll explain why that is, but if you want to check this out, there's no KYC, there's no VPN, there's a deposit bonus underneath the video. Now, let's take a look at why Solana is probably falling a bit right now. If you haven't been paying attention, it's down to about 105. We have seen some liquidations coming in for the entire market, and we have seen some liquidations on Solana, about $17 million worth of longs liquidated. This is something you have to be willing to live with if you are going long or short a cryptocurrency. It is riskier than just buying spot, much riskier, but we have had some liquidations. We also have just seen a massive rally on Solana. I mean, take a look at this. The prices that we're seeing right now, we haven't seen since 3 days ago. Like, this is just normal price action. When you see massive runs up like it's normal to see a bit of a dip. Even here, right? We went from $54 up to $75, and then we went back down to $65. That is completely normal. Now, I do think we are at a very key area for Solana. This is the Solana dominance chart. Something that a lot of people probably don't look at, but it's right around 3%. Now, it does matter how you take into account like the entire crypto market cap, whether you include stablecoins or not. But basically what we're seeing here is we broke out above the prior cycle high of about 2.9%, and we broke up to 3.3% or so. Now we're retesting this. So we are at a very important level because we slammed through prior resistance. We just broke right through it, blew it away, and now we're almost forming it as support. Now, this could be big because this could just test this level and then continue to move up. Use it as support for the next massive move. This is on the weekly, by the way, but this could be a very key level for Solana moving forward, where we do flip resistance into support. That's something that's very bullish on a technical level. The Bitcoin dominance chart is also very interesting. This last couple weeks, we actually broke below the previous trend line. You can see we constantly hit it and bounce right above it. Hit it and bounce right above it. Now we actually broke below it. Now we're testing this prior support. We've bounced off of it a little bit, but we could break to the downside and then have what's known as an alt season. Now we haven't seen anything like that substantially. We've just been seeing higher highs and higher lows on Bitcoin dominance since last year. This could be a big change for the market where we start to see a little bit more pump into altcoins. Now, even if we don't see Bitcoin dominance fall down, we could still see Solana break out against Bitcoin specifically because we have seen that throughout a good part of the year. Solana has outperformed. Now, as I said, I wanted to show you what Tyler Hill, a TA analyst, said recently in a video talking about how high Solana could actually move during the next bull run. Now, of course, always do your own research. I am not saying that this is necessarily how high Solana is going to go. Tyler is showing this on a chart, but even he says that this isn't 100% chance at happening. But I wanted to show you how explosive Solana could be.
Of course. Now, following that, obviously, the next thing to consider is that if Solana, I told you guys two things usually happens. Door number one, or option number one, is that we open up the door to the all-time high. But how often is it that we see in macro uptrends that we just set a macro double top and we just continue back down? Not really all that often, right? We didn't set a macro high and come back here, right? I would say the only time it's ever kind of happened is for Bitcoin up here, but this wasn't a macro high, right? I mean, this wasn't a second bull market high. This was the end of the bull market going up to set a macro double top for the actual bull market itself before entering into a bear market, right? It's not often in bull markets you just see a double top form and it never goes to a new high, right? And so in my opinion, considering, considering that, what I would go ahead and say is what Solana usually does, it goes for that 1.272 Fibonacci extension if it is capable of breaking that 786 letter at $123, and then of course eventually breaking that all-time high at $260. Under these two circumstances, the door is then open for a $669 move to I would almost say minimum, right? If we go into a real bull market, I would say minimum 669 seems likely. Maximum $230, $2,230. I know that sounds absurd. I know that sounds crazy, but you have to understand, if we see a Bitcoin, $150, $170, $180,000, there is a possibility for a third place Solana, right? Maybe right behind Ethereum or right around Ethereum's market cap. That looks like $2,200. I know people don't want to hear it, but that is the possibility here because of the usage of Solana, right? We have been talking about this shit for months and months and months. I don't mean to rub it in people's faces, but understand this. When Solana was at $30, $20, $15, we were saying, look, Solana is so much better now than it was back in 2021. Back in 2021, it was kind of shit, right? We saw these stoppages and slowdowns and hacks, and obviously the manipulation, it was ridiculous, right? But now we've seen a lot of that cleared up. We've seen the token supply being distributed a little bit more fairly, right? All of these things have allowed Solana to get into this position. And I believe the cryptos that work the hardest in situations like they were in the bear market and the bad times, are the ones that flourish the most during the bull markets.
Now, I want to show you that clip because it shows how bullish Solana can actually be. Typically in bull runs, if a crypto is still popular, still around, still getting flows of money, it does surpass the previous all-time high. Now, FTX did have a big part in Solana, but keep in mind, we are getting closer and closer to Solana's all-time high. We're about 40% that in US dollar terms. Now, we're actually surpassing it in other currencies, which is something that a lot of people don't look at. But since we live in a global world, we live in a time where we have to be looking at Solana in all different parts of the world. A lot of people talk about this with Bitcoin, but they don't really look at other altcoins. We are at all-time highs for Solana in terms of price. If you look in certain currencies, Solana to the Turkish lira, it's at an all-time high. Also, it's at a convincing all-time high if you compare it against the Argentinian peso. Now, a lot of people will look at this for Bitcoin because these countries have talked about Bitcoin, especially Argentina. They have a new pro-Bitcoin president, but they don't really look at Solana. They don't look at other layer ones. I think that is something that we should be doing because these countries are looking at altcoins as well as Bitcoin. They are using cryptocurrencies. So they probably do have some layer ones for gas and maybe as an investment. As you can see here, Solana is about 4x the previous all-time high already. And this is when in the US dollar, it's only about 40% the all-time high. And if you look here, it's about a 25x from the bottom during the bear market. So if you're bullish in the US because you have a 10, 12x, think about how bullish people are in other countries too, and they've seen even better gains. Now, as I've said before, strength begets strength. Price action begets price action. What do I mean by that? Well, if we have really good price action on a cryptocurrency, sometimes it just continues to bring more dollars into that cryptocurrency. Like if Solana moves up, more people think about Solana, more people look at Solana, more people feel like they missed out or they're bullish on Solana. So they might throw more money at Solana compared to something that hasn't done anything for a while. Right? Some people might try to accumulate thinking it's the next big mover, but then nothing happens and then they get a little bit bored and then maybe they stop allocating towards it. Now, just a few days ago, I did do a video talking about whether it's time to put money in Solana from Ethereum, whether it's time to pull money out of Ethereum and put it into Solana. Now, in that video, I basically said, hey, even though Solana's done really well, this happens a lot in cryptocurrency where one cryptocurrency moves a lot and then it cools down, another cryptocurrency moves. And I talked about how that was a good way of losing a lot of money in crypto, is just to go from cryptocurrency to cryptocurrency during a bull market and continue trying to buy whatever's moved up the most. And at this point, I think I was right. I mean, that you still might be up if you had done Ethereum into Solana at that point, but if you had done it yesterday, you'd be down about 15%. So I'm not saying to go out and buy a bunch of Solana necessarily right now or to move your entire cryptocurrency portfolio into Solana, but I am saying that we could have a breakout. Now, of course, I'm not telling you that's definitely going to happen. I can't see the future, but I'd be watching the charts right now, paying attention to Solana dominance and paying attention to Bitcoin dominance. Because depending on what happens, we could see another massive breakout for Solana. This is normal to see a pullback, as I said, especially a day where the market is red. Like, it makes sense for a cryptocurrency that's been so green, even on red days recently, to pull back a little bit. Completely normal. Don't freak out. And this is where I would really think, okay, now that Solana's calmed down a little bit, do I want to allocate towards Solana? What kind of plan do I want long term? Now, I have been being paid in cryptocurrency for different work, and I have been holding on to it. Some of that has been in Solana. Now, I'm not going out today and buying a bunch of Solana, but I may have just opened a position, as I said earlier, on Margex to take advantage of what could be a pretty big bounce on Solana. Now, I will say doing this is more risky than just buying spot. Could give you much better gains, but also, like I said, could wipe you out pretty quickly. We also are at a pretty key level of support, or close to a key level of support, $100. This is a big round number. This is where we bounce off of just a few minutes ago. I honestly didn't know that we had gone down to 100 until a few minutes before this video, right around where I may have been setting up that long. But I was thinking when I saw it at 105, oh great, well, we are close to that $100 support. It will probably bounce right off of that because that's typically what we see when we see big round numbers. We usually see those as support or resistance. That's exactly what happened. Now, let me know your thoughts on all this underneath the video. Again, a lot of people don't look at cryptocurrencies and other currencies besides the US dollar, but I think it is something that we should pay attention to because other countries still have huge amounts of GDP. They have millions of citizens. They still have their own ecosystems, economies, and people are interested in cryptocurrencies even outside of the US. Let me know your thoughts on this underneath the video, though. Again, you can check out Margex. I really appreciate it. I will see you in the next one.